Thanks for checking out another clip of the Cashflow Contractor. We'd love to have you as a part of our audience. Click subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Where were you at with the internet in 1998 in your business, using the internet?
I got an MBA and I went back to school when I was 40, graduated in 95. And I got my
Okay.
first email. Well, the one thing happened is I got a textbook with a CD on it,
Okay.
wrapped in cellophane. So it's like, whoa, what do I do with this? Well, I had problems and stuff, but I got my first email in 1994. I got an email address to the University of Oklahoma. And if people can remember what screens used to look like when there was a greater than symbol and a C and a colon, and it just blinked at you in either orange or green, and there you go. That was my email. And I remember Control Z meant send. There were no editor, but I could put somebody's address in there. And so we had that. I remember calling a guy one time to try to learn more how we could use it, because it was really arcane and difficult to find anything on any information. You really typed www and you went to archives at a university and had permission to read an article. It's just like nothing was there. But he was telling me about links. I remember he said, well, you got to have a link. And I go, okay. And he goes, from the tone of your voice, I don't think you get it. I said, well, you're right, because I don't know what the hell a link is. Well, we had Netscape, if you remember that, Mark Andreessen. So I got Netscape. And anyway, it was of no practical use to my business. And one other thing, at that time, some 94, maybe 98 or something like that, everybody was talking internet. But the major debate was, would it be allowed to be used for commercial purposes? And there were Computer World and magazines like that debated all the time. No, this is a government, ARPA or whatever, DARPA, the defense, why it was created. No, we shouldn't do it. And then it began to finally, there was a tidal wave. Gosh, I haven't thought about this stuff for a long time, Khalil. There was a tidal wave of people interested in using the internet. Then one of the ways to make the internet useful is let people pay for stuff, right? So there it was, like, I'm going to put my credit card into the internet. And there were people saying, yeah, I do it all. I don't know when eBay came out. I think it's probably in the thousands, not in the 90s. But all of a sudden, all of those things were major debates, major. And it was a long time. I'm trying to think, probably when did we have our first real business website? Was probably in the 2000s.
Well, and I mean, think about that. Like at that time, you were probably, one, you mentioned the government only usage. And I think it's funny that there's the same parallels with AI today. Obviously, I do think that AI is a little bit more consequential than the internet in terms of it thinking on its own and that kind of stuff.
I don't think it's more consequential in the sea change. It may be a little more dangerous.
But that's what I meant. Sorry, a little more dangerous.
When we think about what, I've said it before, but I have to say it again. When I got out of college and started working, we did not have copy machines. We didn't have copiers. We had carbon paper, NCR paper, correcting selectric IBM typewriters that could white out stuff. The first major technology disruptor was the fax, because I was running grain elevators and we were buying corn and selling corn by contract. And the question was, hey, if I fax you a signed contract, it's just a fax. Does that count as a signature? And it wound up being part of contracts that, yes, a fax, now we do it on the internet and whatever, DocuSign picture signatures. That look good? Look way better than my real signature. But so I don't know if I cut in, but it was so disruptive.
No. Yeah, it is extremely disruptive. I think the reality is, if you were early to the internet, if you were the one that said, hey, I'm going to get an email and I'm going to build a website in 1998, and it comes around to 2002 and people are searching Google and your site's been around for 4 years and you're the first one popping up and people aren't using the yellow pages anymore, they're searching Google to find your business. You had a competitive advantage.
Yeah.
not because your website was, yeah, if we looked at your website from 1998 today, we'd probably laugh, right? But you you were first to market. You were first to really start using it as a competitive advantage, and you were successful because of it. So many businesses. We can think of like the Googles and the Facebooks and Amazon, and yes, those guys won. But on a small business level, the ones who adopted the internet first and were emailing quotes to customers and were receiving payment over the internet, they were able to collect money faster. They were able to have build up Google reviews for 10 years before people were getting Google reviews. Those kinds of things, like that's a competitive advantage. And that's where we are right now. Right now it's
With AI.
1999
Yeah.
internet, but
Yeah.
we're with AI.
Yeah.
And the same exact principle is in place. If you're a small business, you need to treat it with the same respect, because in 4 years, you will have a competitive advantage over the small business down the street who's not using AI, right? The other contractors out there who aren't using it don't have the competitive advantage that you have. Thanks for checking out a clip from the Cashflow Contractor. We have full episodes where we go deep on topics that help you grow a construction business that runs without you, so you can have less stress, more time, more money. Now, we've got other videos, other clips, but if you want to check out the full episode for this clip, you can click wherever our editor put it. It might be here, it might be there, it might be over my face, I don't know. But thank you for checking us out. We'd love to have you as a part of our audience. So subscribe or check out a full episode wherever you get podcasts.